One of the world's largest aid operations has been served with an official warning about mismanagement. Oxfam GB, which stands for Great Britain, is the subject of a report out today from the Charity Commission in the UK. It has to do with Oxfam's work in Haiti after the earthquake of 2010. Now, staff were accused of sexually abusing children and paying for prostitutes. Some aid workers were fired, but others were allowed to quietly resign. And some of the facts came out last year, and donations for Oxfam fell sharply. The CBC's Margaret Evans has been reading up on the report, and she's with me now live from London. So, Margaret, let's talk about the conclusions of that report.
Well, they're pretty damning. This is the result of an 18-month investigation. I'd say the main conclusion is basically that Oxfam failed to heed warnings by members of its own staff that this was going on, that in fact prostitutes were being used by charity workers sent by Oxfam to Haiti to ostensibly help victims of the earthquake there. It also says that that allegations of child abuse were ignored, that Oxfam did not report those allegations to either the Haitian government or the British government. There were mentions of two emails in particular, one by a 12-year-old, another by a 13-year-old child, alleging abuse, and those emails were deemed not to have been credible. As you mentioned in your introduction as well, Oxfam GB is accused of treating senior members of staff more leniently than junior. They basically fired 4 staff members after these allegations came out in an internal review, accusing them of gross misconduct, but it allowed 3 senior members, including a former country director, to actually just leave the charity. Overall, they say not just Haiti, but a culture that allowed a lack of accountability and a failure to protect to permeate. So pretty shocking stuff for an aid agency like Oxfam.
Okay, so we've got the report, we've got the conclusions, but what are the consequences going to be?
Well, I think the biggest consequence so far is going to be a lack of trust in aid agencies. I'm afraid that they might all be tarred with the same brush. Oxfam, their donations or their subscriptions dropped by 7,000 after these allegations came to light. And there is a sense that in the aid sector in general needs to have more scrutiny. Here's a little listen to something, some of the comments that Helen Evans had to say. She's one of the original whistleblowers, and she was formerly with Oxfam dealing with safeguarding, and she says that there needs to be a lot more accountability throughout the sector.
My real hope is that today's report is the wake-up call the sector needs. Yes, there have been a lot of fine words, a lot of promises, but now we need to see action, we need to see change, and that cultural change is going to take many, many years.
And the Charity Commission here wants that change to happen a whole lot faster than that for Oxfam. They've basically given it until the end of the month to come up with a progress report and an action plan on how it's going to deal with issues like vetting its employees, training them, ensuring that accountability exists, and that it goes all the way up to the top. So that's a pretty quick deadline for it to actually show intent and action to change in a meaningful way.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. CBC's Margaret Evans in London.